to DDT Wrestling Podcast, your number one podcast on the entire planet, in my heart, that talks about all topics wrestling, WWE. We just had WrestleMania. Uh, we're literally just getting back from Las Vegas, trying to get all of this wrestling out of our head. Um, Very controversial finish. My goodness, we were in a we were watching it actually with Dave LaGreca from Busted Open. He was in the same room, and it was the same temperament. As soon as I know, I don't want to get into too far. As soon as one, two, three happened, energy was gone. People were stone faced. But anyway, what we're going to do for this episode is we are going to have a tier list of all the matches from Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania days 1 and 2. Tier list of all the matches. We'll talk about our topics of discussion, and then we'll get into a chaotic Raw after Mania. So let's start. Riss, let's start this tier list.
Yes. Okay. First, I want to discuss what the actual tiers are so you guys know where our head's at. So I'll start from bottom to top. Z tier, dumpster fire, never do that again. Terrible. C, didn't belong at Mania. B, solid match. A, fantastic. And S, future Hall of Fame match. So I'll be starting off with Stand and Deliver. We had the privilege of going to actually see it live, which is very fun. On the pre-show, they had a fatal four-way tag match, which we unfortunately missed live. But it was Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley who ended up on top of that. I heard that there were some good spots in that match. I feel like tag match fatal four-ways are always exciting. I love the finisher they do. I don't know what it's called. So I'm like, regardless, I just know that the match is going to be good because the spots are always super hot. So even though I didn't get to see it, I feel like it would get somewhat of a mid-tier
A solid.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, based on the performance, and again, we're this match we didn't see. So I don't know. It's hard to slot a match that we didn't see, but based on the reputation of the people involved, I mean I'm sure it's a solid match once I go back and watch it.
I would say it's a solid B or C. I watched this one on the live show. It was decent. It was what it needed to be for being on the pre-show of NXT Stand Deliver.
Perfect.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
Next was Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page for the NXT North American Championship. So we actually thought the start time was 4:30 local to Vegas, so we did miss the first half of it, which sucked. But we got to see some really hot spots, really exciting moments, a lot of false finishes in this match, and the crowd was chanting "Thank you, Tony" in this match for obvious reasons. Which just goes to show the talent that a lot of these wrestlers have once they make it to the big leagues. I thought that the half of the match that I got to see was fantastic. I mean, both of them can work really well. They have great ring chemistry. And it was just super exciting and a super hot start to the actual event.
It was pretty good. I feel like though Ethan Page kind of coasting until he gets to that main roster, which I'm not going to bring up anything yet, but he might have plans soon eventually.
Little teaser there. Those are two guys, they do have chemistry. They wrestled in indies. They had a little thing in AEW. So they probably know each other's moves right when it's because they probably don't even have to talk in a match. Um, um, I give it a very solid match.
Mhm.
If you could give it a B plus, I would give it that. But yeah, I'll give that a solid.
Next was Braxium versus Hank and Tank for the NXT Tag Team Titles match. This one was a very surprising ending to me because I thought that Braxium was just going to hold those titles forever, but obviously they were likely being called to the big leagues, which makes sense because they've done so much on NXT, and I mean there was really no one that could have taken the titles from them. So it was really cool to see Hank and Tank kind of show off and show out. Like that match had so many hot spots, so many false endings. Hank and Tank are big guys, but they're so agile. So it was very exciting to see. And I'm glad that, a new team on NXT gets to hold the gold. because it was like Fraxium was just gonna hold it forever. But yeah, I thought this match was really good.
I like this match. It told a good story because it was showing you how Hank and Tank they did their actual thing and they used themselves instead of trying to be like other teams, and they finally captured gold because Fraxium is probably going up to the main roster at this point.
Me, Hank and Tank were just kind of there for me, but then this match, man, um, Fraxium always shows out. Those guys, I mean, um, Frazier is like the Flash in the ring. He's like controlled speed when he's in that ring. It's crazy. But they really showed out. It was a dramatic match. I would even give that, I put that above solid. I even would lean that in a fantastic. I really like that match.
Totally agree. Especially like the crowd was also like obviously on the side of Fraxium for the most part, but then like once it really felt that like Hank and Take like they were trying so hard, like oh my God, they're almost gonna do it. The crowd kind of shifted a little bit towards them. So yeah, no, I agree. It was a fantastic match. The next one was Dark State versus the D'Angelo family, which had a super hot moment that we kind of were all expecting at some point. Stacks officially turned on Tony D'Angelo, which definitely made for a really hot moment, and that ultimately led to Dark State taking the win. I did expect Dark State to win because they're the new up and coming group. They're trying to like cause havoc everywhere and show that they're like super strong. So I think it made sense for them to have this win. I thought that there were a lot of hot spots in this match. I mean, we've seen all of them work before. They've had a lot of like parking lot fights, so we knew that this match was going to be pretty hot. But I think the highlight of the match was definitely the turn. It added a lot more drama to it. The crowd reaction was also really good. So I think I would probably give this a solid match with like that one fantastic moment that really made it shine and stand out.
It was a good match, though. The problem was I didn't like how much the crowbar was in the ring. It didn't need to be in the ring for like half the match because Stacks was holding it like half the match, and then he kept not using it, not using it. I'm like, if you use it, you're gonna get disqualified, so that doesn't do any good for you.
Where would you put it?
Like B or C.
Um, I struggle with this to did it belong on Mania or at least on a pay-per-view? It's NXT, so it was a solid match. All of those guys can work very well. I'm not bought into all of those guys. I need more to emotionally invest into them. So maybe I wasn't too invested. I give it a solid because all of those guys can work well. There were some spots that you were like, whoa. Um, but yeah, for me, that was a solid match.
And the next match was the ladder match for the women's North American title, which was an awesome match. And the outcome was exactly what I wanted. They just know how to do ladder matches here because I think the last ladder match they had for the North American champion for the first winner, which was Kaylani Jordan at the time. And they showed off and showed out for that one too. So it was really cool for them to run it back again, to have another ladder match, and they killed. It was such a hot match. Um, what do you guys think?
It definitely got the crowd even more hyped up after what just happened with the heel turn. And they were happy with how it turned out. And it kind of like built the rest of the night, especially that triple threat, which I'm not going to say the rating it, but I like that one.
Um, like you said, Riz, they know how to do ladder matches. I love when a match has every element to it and the right person wins.
Mm-hmm.
Like it had everything to me. It was fantastic. I might even put it above fantastic because I think it may be one of the best women's ladder matches. Everybody had a moment to shine.
Mm-hmm.
Some fantastic safe spots, and the right person won. I
Exactly.
think she definitely should have won that match. I feel Soroka. I really, she definitely she's over. and she can definitely work a move, and then her finisher. I mean, come on, the Soul Snatcher. She soul snatched three people in that match. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I got.
No, it was awesome. This next one, thus proving that the women's division is literally the best division in the world. The Fatal Four Way for the women's NXT title: Stephanie Vaquer, Jordan Grace, Jada Parker, and Julia. This match, of course, killed. I thought that this was going to be the main event, which, of course, we'll get into forthcoming, but they did so well. Of course they did. We've known that this was going to happen. I was worried about it being four. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but obviously they showed off and they showed out. Of course, we knew that it was going to be an amazing match. Everybody had a hot spot. The one thing that you run into when you have so many people in a match is that a person doesn't get their moment to shine, especially if they end up being the one that eats the pin. But no, every single one of those women had a moment where you're like, wait, they might take this. I love when they do it. Distribute the surprise evenly. And I think the outcome was correct. Stephanie Vaquer retaining, I think, was the right decision. She really just bleeds stardom, and I want her to hold on to this title for quite some time longer before she gets called up. So I'm very happy that they had her retain. And they can run this back in literally any combination they want. That's just how much ring chemistry all of these women have.
Yeah, this showed that all these women could work. Even on yesterday's show, Raw, you had two of those women show up in Julia and Stephanie Vaquer, Roxanne Perez, which they're all gonna probably get involved tonight. But it just shows they can work.
Yeah, get ready for the purge because main roster they may feel like they have some issues based on what went down in the perception of Mania, and we will talk about Monday Night Raw after Mania, but those women are absolutely the future of WWE. Um, Stephanie Vaquer is top tier. Julia, I mean, all of them. My goodness, I thought that match was great. Um, there's another fantastic match. Everybody had a chance to shine. Some great false finishes, and the right person won again. You gotta push Stephanie Vaquer to the moon. And again, the purge is coming. Get ready for Stand and Deliver next year, where it's going to be four completely different women because those women will not be on NXT's roster.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what the booking will be like for next year. But the final match for Stand and Deliver, which I think it absolutely deserved its place in the main event, was the triple threat match for the NXT champion Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans. Wow is literally what I can say. They really showed up because everybody knows they keep praising the women's division and kind of having a little bit of worry for the men's division after these, amongst a couple of others, ultimately leave. But they really showed why they are one of the three top ones in the men's division. Like, it was an awesome main event. And even though, like, logically speaking, based on just how physically larger Obafemi and Trick Williams are than Javon Evans, there were so many times where you thought Javon Evans is going to win this match. He is so athletic in the ring and is able to pull off so many amazing spots that you want to believe in him. You're like, yeah, like, this is the guy. And he can hang with those two guys that have been there for a lot longer than him. So it was such a great main event match. Very exciting.
I absolutely love this match. If it wasn't for how the other triple threat went on Actual Mania, this might even be talked about even more. Because I've seen
Great
takes
point.
this could be the match of the decade. It was so good. And it told a story. I hope Javon Evans and Trick Williams, they visit a feud one-on-one actually, where Trick Williams actually goes up to the main roster.
Yeah, this is absolutely one of my picks for best match of the whole weekend. One of the best matches of the whole weekend. Again, everybody got to shine. Um, Javon Evans, star. He's going to be the champion of that company when those two are brought up to the main roster. He is just, it's something about watching that man wrestle. We see people do moonsaults all the time and springboards, but something about maybe it's his size, his body shape or something. He just looks, it's just, I don't know. I can't even think of a word, majestic. But he just looks good, like in that ring. I'm just waiting for him to season himself a little bit with the promos. But as far as the match, great match is like you said. If it wasn't for the other match, the other triple threat, that might be one of the best triple threat matches. So, um, I would go ahead and say future Hall of Fame.
Nice. And that is the developmental brand for you guys. Like that's how amazing it is right now. But yeah, Stand and Deliver was a great show. Now on to night one of WrestleMania, and it started off with Jay versus Gunther for the WWE World Champion. And thank God they went with the right decision. The right outcome happened. I am so happy because we were saying it. We are not going to really care about Jey Uso if he doesn't win this one this time, and he did it. We got to eat the afternoon away. They made the right choice. What I will say is that the ending of the match did surprise me, and I know that they were trying to go with a little bit of an element of surprise. They didn't want Jey Uso to win with the standard spear and splash, so he beat Gunther by choking him out, and Gunther tapped out. I can't believe I'm saying this about Gunther, somebody they build up as such a monument. Um, but yeah, they really killed it with that element of surprise. I've heard mixed things about how people feel about Gunther tapping out to not just Jey Uso, but in general. But I thought that the match did what it was supposed to do, and it had the right outcome. So I was just primarily happy about the outcome. What about you guys?
We got to the right outcome. I didn't certainly like or love how we got to that outcome. Gunther needed to bleed. He needs to bleed to make Jey Uso make him like the
Great.
victim that he tried making his brother.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought going into the match. I think I said it. I'm like, Gunther has to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this was a solid match with the right outcome. And the ending I thought was story because he in that match he used every one of Gunther's moves on him.
Yeah.
That was part of the story. He used his power slam. He used all of Gunther's moves and he chokes him out and he makes him tap. Like I think that was the story that they wanted to tell right there, and I liked it. The match overall was solid to me. That's me. That's my opinion.
No, that's fair. I totally agree. Like solid match with, A storytelling. The next match is the tag match between New Day and the War Raiders, to which New Day ended up on top. I am glad that this outcome happened because, like we were saying in the previous installment, New Day needed to get gold for us to take them seriously. Now, I love to title things, of course, and what I titled this match is the pre-show match that got saved by the sponsor. Now, maybe that's a dig, but Clash of Clans was a sponsor for this, and hey, good on WWE for getting the sponsorships. I will never fault them for getting the bag, but this match was not really, surprising. It didn't really feel like a WrestleMania match to me. It was just a standard Monday Night Raw tag match that they could have really had last night or the previous Monday. Now, one of the things that is especially bothering me is how Nick Aldis scheduled a TLC tag match for SmackDown. I understand that they want the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania to be exciting. I get that. I support that. But the fact that you have that and you couldn't put it in WrestleMania, and without even seeing the match, I already know that that would have been more exciting than this one. So, right outcome, it just didn't feel like a WrestleMania match to me. It fell flat for a WrestleMania match.
Yeah, the one glaring problem was obviously that you brought up that the TLC match didn't make it, and this made it over that. Because if you look at the time they had, WrestleMania ended at like 11 o'clock here in the East Coast. So it's not like it didn't go as late as it was last year. They had time, and they just decided not to put it on here. And because that made it over TLC match, people are going to remember it. They wanted to see that TLC match instead.
The perception of night one wasn't that good. Adding that TLC match would have elevated that, especially the way it ended. Night one ended.
Right.
But if they would have just added that match, um, it just changes the outcome of the whole perception of WrestleMania because we know those guys can go. So I believe this match did not need to be on Mania. Of course, the New Day and the War Raiders can work, but it's a Monday night. It's a main event match from WWE speed. It's that that's what that match was.
Next match I have is Jade Cargill versus Naomi, to which Jade Cargill ended up victorious for this one. So this was a breakout match as far as like a solo WrestleMania match for Jade Cargill. And I'm happy for her that she ended up winning. Naomi actually got new music to go along with this new persona, which I thought was great because I don't think a glow party, jump up and down song fits this whole like obsessive evil villain character that she is right now. So glad to see that, glad to hear that. They had some cool spots, in the match. I mean, Naomi is a veteran, there's not really much that you need to do when you're in a match with her. Jade Cargill, on the other hand, Jade Cargill's the rookie in this, so obviously she needed to follow suit with Naomi. There wasn't anything particularly exciting in this match. I mean, they had some hot spots, they had some, good moments. I thought that they were really good with like conveying emotion in the story. I thought the build up was way hotter than the actual match itself. And a lot of that does have to do with the fact that Jade Cargill won. I thought that Naomi winning would have allowed this to either elongate a little bit more or just add to the story and go along with the build up. So yeah, I'm not particularly enthusiastic about this match, but I thought that they did fine. They did fine. Like it wasn't particularly, exciting. I feel like I would feel a lot more positive about it if the right outcome happened. But what about you guys?
It did what it needed to do to get Jade Cargill over, but for Naomi, it kind of felt like it kind of like didn't really bury her, but like she kind of needed to put up more of a fight and probably needed to win that match.
Where do you go after this match? Where do you go with Jade? Naomi, on the other hand, has been doing really good character work. I mean, prior to this and even afterward, I saw her as potentially women's world title contender because of this persona. But I mean, I guess you want to give your younger star the win, but I felt like she got the upper hand too many times to get that win. So I wasn't happy with the outcome of it. They did some solid moves. Naomi carried the match. She had to, especially for somebody that does like the power moves and all that stuff. Jade, of course, looks amazing. I still feel like she looks like she did in AEW. Um, I guess she's a little improved, but it was a solid match. It
Mm-hmm.
should have been on Mania because it had to end. I guess it had to. Their story had to come to some type of crescendo or whatever, but it's solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. The next match I have was El Grande Americano against who originally was Rey Mysterio, but it turned into Rey Phoenix. He had to step in, which was a fantastic opportunity for him. And it, again, just goes to show the talent from AEW getting the opportunities on the big leagues. But I mean, do we even have like, of course, a match with Chad Gable and a luchador is
Whoever
going
that guy
to,
is.
yeah, whoever he is. We knew that it was gonna be hot. You know, Ray Phoenix is amazing, and it was so cool that he got to be on this big stage. And of course, they had the hot spot of the loaded mask. And they played into that, thus leading to El Grande Americano winning, which I think was supposed to happen. Now, on the last installment, at the time, we initially thought that Backlash is going to be in Mexico, which it's now been confirmed that it's in St. Louis. But there's a lot of opportunity for them to have, matches in Mexico or just in general in somewhere in Latin America, seeing as they have this new deal with AAA. But yeah, I thought the outcome was great. I thought the match was really exciting to see, and I'm really excited for the future for Ray Phoenix.
Yeah, this match, it does kind of get a little overshadowed by, which by the way, I hope Rey Mysterio is okay, but first Ray Phoenix getting inserted into this match, and then them also announcing the acquisition of AAA.
Yeah, Ray Phoenix and Penta were in the AEW purgatory. They were nowhere, and then both of them had WrestleMania moments. I know this isn't talking about the match, but that is just amazing to me that they got to have their moment. Unfortunately, like you said, for Ray Mysterio, yeah, unfortunate, he got hurt. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully it's not a serious one, but I'll say it a million times. I am a Chad Gable mark. I love the guy. He's, Kurt Angle's probably, for me, is Shawn Michaels and then Kurt Angle and then Macho Man. Those are my three top guys ever. And he's a mini Kurt Angle. I think he gets it. I love this new gimmick he's doing with El Grande Americano. I love that. The match was definitely good. Like you said, you put Chad Gable in there with a broomstick, and it's gonna be a good match. Is above solid, fantastic. I don't know if I put it there, but it's so solid. For the basis of this, it's a very solid match.
Agreed. This next match was for the U.S. title with Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. We kind of had like mixed agreements for what the end of this match would look like, but they went with the right choice of Jacob Fatu being victorious. It was a very satisfying match to watch. They had very awesome hot spots, which was no surprise because we knew they were going to cook. Great ring chemistry. I think my favorite spot was when Jacob Fatu was going for like a moonsault and then LA Knight caught him with a VFT. I forgot if it was a moonsault or a splash, but regardless, the timing on that was impeccable. We knew that was going to cook. And yeah, the outcome was great. Jacob Fatu finally has gold. And, this is just a start. Like, he is going to be an unstoppable force in WWE. So I'm so happy that he got the recognition on the big stage. And this doesn't hurt LA Knight at all. It was just time. Like, he's had the U.S. title multiple times. I don't know where I would put LA Knight next, but, I'm just so happy that they went with the right choice for Jacob Fatu. And it just opens the door for so many great feuds for so many potential people on the roster.
I'm kind of glad they went with Jacob Fatu. Obviously, I already said previously, the Bloodline Dynasty, anything with that. But Jacob Fatu, he's an amazing worker. They have so many places where they can go with this. I don't know where LA Knight goes after this, but he'll go somewhere. They'll find a spot for him.
I disagree with both of you in regards to the right person won. LA Knight just got the title. And you can have more storyline. I was predicting that Solo would get involved and cost Jacob the match,
right?
Which would elevate him to more of a face, and he'd have to deal with the bloodline. I think if you kept that title on LA Knight, you still have people he can fight for it. And then you have Jacob Fatu that has a storyline with the remnants of the bloodline. I wasn't too on board as far as the match. Fantastic match. That spot was great. That spot is up there with Randy Orton catching Seth Rollins with the RKO from the stomp. that was a great, the timing to be able to do that is just incredible. So I really like the match. I just wasn't happy that I mean I'm a mark for Jacob Fatu. I'm glad he has gold. I just thought you could build him to getting gold more.
Yeah, that's
But
that's definitely fair. Where do y'all put this one? Fantastic or solid?
I give it a fantastic.
Okay. Next, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the women's WWE Championship. There's a lot of mixed reviews on this match. This was one of the longer matches of night one. It ran almost 20 minutes. They let these women work. Now, what I titled this match was a street fight without the weapons. It was a hard hitting match. They weren't playing around, and maybe this was like, to really prove that Tiffany Stratton is ready for this and, in Charlotte's position, really giving her that challenge. Um, I knew that they were going to cook because both of those women have so much athletic ability. Um, and yeah, I am happy with the outcome. Seeing Tiffany battered and bruised and with a chipped tooth, it was like, dang, like she was taken through the ringer. But yeah, the ending, it was very satisfying. The crowd was on her side. I felt the crowd was very in it and involved and excited. And throughout the match, I really didn't know where it was going to go, but obviously WWE is really pushing for Tiffany Stratton. I'm excited to see what is next for her. I'm excited to see, who next she can hang with in terms of a feud. But yeah, I thought that this match, did what it was supposed to do. I don't know, because like I like to compare the build up to the match and the match itself. I don't know where I put this in terms of that. There's a lot of mixed reviews on how people felt about the match. But I feel that the build up to it and the actual match was kind of on the same level. But I think the anticipation for the match was way higher than both of those. So that's kind of why I have them in the same ranking. But yeah, overall, I thought that it didn't necessarily exceed my expectations, but it met them. What about you guys?
Yeah, obviously the build fell flat as we were fantasy booking this for a little while, and it didn't come to what we wanted.
Mhm.
But they worked. They tried getting Tiffany Stratton over. We'll have to see how much it works because we haven't had SmackDown yet.
Mhm.
But it did what it needed to do to give Tiffy a win. I think she is okay, though. I think she said she didn't chip her tooth.
Yeah.
yeah, her teeth were already fixed. So I'm gonna go into another match really quick for a certain spot. The women's triple threat with Io, Bianca, and Rhea. There was a moment when Io was knocked out the ring, and Bianca and Rhea are looking at each other, talking trash, and then they just started wailing back and forth, back and forth.
Mhm.
Like that is the spot that match needed.
Right.
It felt like the brutality in that match happened by mistake,
Mm.
by accident.
Right.
Like they had a couple of scraps going on, but I felt like Bianca and Rhea were throwing bombs at each other and then they both knocked each other out. I
Mhm.
felt like based on how personal it got, they should have played on that and they should have like just been scrapping a little bit more, roll outside the ring and like, you know, it was a solid match to me. Um, but I felt like the brutality, the bruises, the chipped tooth or whatever, it happened by mistake. And
Mhm.
it didn't look like a physical match. I mean, that's kind of that's not accurate because it was a physical match. Those women were hitting each other, but it didn't tell the story I thought it could have told. But I thought
Mhm.
it was solid because they both can work. And it had the right outcome.
Right. True. 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 And then the final match for night one was the triple threat between Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. Oh my gosh, was this match an amazing match? There were so many predictions that were out in the ether for what would happen. And even though some of it like met what a lot of the predictions were, it was executed so well. It started off so hot. There were moments where they would just stare at each other and it would give you chills. These men put in the work. These men did business for the match. I talk about cinematic matches and how, hey, cinema is what you want to do, and Lord, did they do cinema. And then, of course, the ending of the match that everybody was anticipating. They started off with a deflection, passing the chair to CM Punk. With Paul Heyman is amazing. There's nobody like Paul Heyman. He passes the chair to CM Punk. He guides him over to Roman Reigns, who looks distraught and shocked. Get Roman Reigns an Oscar for this. He then low blows CM Punk. Everybody's shocked. Paul Heyman looks so regretful. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't believe I did this. You're my best friend, but you turned on me. He passes the chair over to Roman Reigns, calls him the tribal chief. Roman Reigns is laughing. Roman Reigns is happy. Roman Reigns is shocked. Paul Heyman says, Roman, this is your time now. Seth Rollins, his back is turned. This is it. This is where you get your revenge for that 10-year-long betrayal. Roman Reigns is about to do it. Low blow. Crowd goes wild. I wish I could rewatch it for the first time. We were at the Red Tail Bar in Vegas, and it paused for a brief second, and we were all like, no! We couldn't believe it. Maybe it was a bandwidth issue for Peacock, but another low blow. Seth Rollins doesn't even look. He doesn't look to the side. He doesn't look behind him. He holds out his hand, and Paul Heyman passes him the steel chair with a grin on his face. And then he starts unleashing on Roman Reigns. That is cinema, ladies and gentlemen, and they did it so well. I am so happy that was the result. It gives a fresh coat of paint, like we said last week, to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is the guy, and we know that he's going to do this well because he earned Paul Heyman. You don't just get to be a Paul Heyman guy. You can't just throw that around loosely. You have to earn it. And Seth Rollins is a Paul Heyman guy. I kind of talk for a lot there, but what do you guys think?
Before I rate it, it's obviously an S, but it was a good match. It did what it needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
The anticipation of what Paul Heyman was going to do. I'm not going to talk about what he was doing when he low-blowed Roman Reigns, but it did what he needed to do. It shocked us, and obviously what happened on Raw afterwards. But it just gave us a fresh coat of paint on Seth Rollins,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have a full-blown dominant heel.
Yeah.
Sometimes obvious is good. Like, I think a lot of people kind of predicted maybe Paul Heyman would align himself with Seth Rollins. Sometimes just do what's obvious because it progresses the story. I don't know what's above S tier. I guess God tier. Because this might be one of the best triple threat matches that I've seen. I have to really think about that. But you have three of the best people in the business telling a story. The story it flowed the way it should have flowed. It's chef's kiss on, that match. All three guys are incredible workers, and we got story going forward. Paul Heyman, GOAT psychotic storyteller. So S tier, SSS tier, God tier for that match.
So night 2 of WrestleMania starts off with Women's World Champion Triple Threat, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. A lot of what I'm going to say here is going to sound similar to what I just said about the last Triple Threat match. This is how you open WrestleMania. What a hot opener. Oh my gosh. I wish I can go back and watch this match again for the first time. This is a match that I can watch over and over and over again and not get tired. They flowed so well. There was not one moment of wasted time in this match. And of course they did, because all of these women have amazing ring chemistry. These three women are proving why the women's division in WWE, why women's wrestling is so top tier right now. They put on an amazing show. Out of all of the WrestleManias that I've ever watched myself, I think this was my favorite opener. This match was such a highlight for the weekend, and of course, it's getting a lot of accolades. The outcome was exactly what needed to happen. Io Sky retained the two pillars that were smushing her face and overshadowing her. That was obviously a deflection. She won. She got the win. She retained. And apparently, it's been 27 years since a Japanese wrestler won in WrestleMania. She is the first woman to do it. She deserves this kudos. She deserves the accolades. And I am so, so, so happy for her. And yeah, it's literally the options are just endless for her. If you have a bad match with any one of these women, it's your fault because of how amazing they are.
This match was good. It definitely stole night two because the matches were not as good on night two. But it stole the show. Io retained. The only thing it did that was not positive was end Bianca's WrestleMania streak.
True.
I think some people question that streak because there's supposedly a pre-show. I think WrestleMania, I don't remember which one. There was a pre-show a battle royal that she lost. So people question that, but she did eat the pin. That is the first WrestleMania where she ate a pin.
Yeah.
But again, just like you said, Riz, you can copy and paste what I said about the previous match because those are three of the best workers they have on that roster telling a story. It had the right outcome, I thought. It flowed so well. Those women sell so good. It was just great. It's a SS tier, that triple threat match. Definitely one of the best women triple threat matches that I've seen. Yeah, there's nothing else I can say more about it. Just, where they go with it. I mean, I guess we caught a glimpse on Monday, but I guess we'll see what's going on with Bianca maybe Friday. But yeah, S tier.
Yes. The next match that followed that was the Sin City Street Fight between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Damian Priest got a really cool intro. I think the lead guitarist of his song played as he walked down the aisle into the ring, so that was really cool to see. And then Drew McIntyre was just this like video game character, so they kind of showed out for the intros. Obviously, that starter match was really hard to follow, but I think that they did awesome. It was a lot of hot spots. I mean, it's a street fight, so the options are endless for what you can do. One of the funniest moments was when Drew McIntyre took a picture and took his picture on his brother's phone when Damian Priest was kind of in a vulnerable state. So that was really funny, thus proving why Drew McIntyre was the social media Slammy winner. But yeah, I thought the match was really great. I thought it belonged at WrestleMania. They had a lot of hot spots. It was very exciting. Damian Priest is an amazing worker. And the outcome that happened, I thought, was right. Like, I wasn't sure on if Damian Priest could take this loss, but honestly, Damian Priest is a very versatile superstar that can get into feuds with anybody at this point. Drew McIntyre deserved this win. He's been a workhorse for the past year and a half. And the last time outside of the 2 minutes and 30 seconds he had the belt where CM Punk ruined it and got cashed in on, before that, he had a WrestleMania victory when there was COVID. And it was a bunch of screens. So he's had to workhorse and do business and take a lot of losses and end up, not being the one on top with the win, and still showing off and showing out and having some of the best matches for the past year and a half. So he finally got his one on the big stage, and I'm very happy for him. And this definitely opens the door for him to be in the conversation for the title. It re-enters that, because, with Cody Rhodes holding it, it was just like, well, we don't know, and Gunther had beaten him before, so they weren't really going to run that back at the time that Gunther had the title. So now the door's open for Drew to, challenge honestly both of the title contenders. So I'm very happy that he ended up with the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drew, he worked good. And Damian Priest, he lost in a way that most people would lose in a street fight. Went through two tables and then got claymored into a chair. Few guys might kick out of that, but not too many. Again, the phone spot was funny last year. He said bored at work. This year he put bored at work again. So we might just keep saying that at WrestleMania. But Drew McIntyre needed to win at WrestleMania, and he got one. That he did not lose it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I had not low expectations for this match. It was just indifferent. I was like, okay, they're gonna have a good match, but they really exceeded expectations for that match. Good spots, right decision. I put it above solid. I give it a fantastic. I like this match a lot. And I'm really happy that Drew, you know, it's hard for a guy like that over to not be in a title picture, but you can't have everybody in a title picture at the same time, I guess. But I'm happy Drew won that, and they really put on a show.
Yes. Next match was the IC title Fatal 4-Way. This was a very exciting match. Dom Mysterio, Finn Balor, Penta, and then Braun Breaker, who was on the defense. The outcome was what it was supposed to be. Dom Mysterio has gone from the most hated heel to then turning heel again as a heel to getting booed so much that he can't even talk into the mic to being cheered when he wins the IC title at WrestleMania. That just goes to show you can't really predict fans. And yeah, this is so well deserved. I mean, he's been in the business since he was 8 years old. But actually wrestling for quite some time at this point now. So it was really exciting to see him with the title. I'm glad a true heel has the title. Braun Breaker kind of started off as a heel, but kind of was forced into being a face because people just want to do the bark, bark, woof, woof chant, which is fine. I do it too. I get it. We didn't have a heel IC title for quite some time. So now we have one. People are cheering him, of course, because we want to see him on TV. He's so entertaining inside and outside of the ring on multiple social platforms. So this is really, really great. The ending was very reminiscent of that women's triple threat match with the, false finisher and then the third person doing that finisher. It was great. The timing was amazing. He even, took his moment, ran right back into that ring. And, now he's the best Mysterio, future Hall of Famer. I mean, what's next when the options are endless? So very excited that they went with this ending.
Yeah, I'm glad Dom won. It was actually one of the better matches, I would say. And Dom finally got what he deserved for being such a great heel. But the problem is, you said that he's going to be a heel. I don't know if he's going to be heel that long. The way he's getting these cheers and the way Balor is looking at that title, because he did that yesterday. He looked right at that title. And he's probably going to be face soon.
Yeah, Dom's a bastard, so he's gonna stay a heel that people cheer. Um, yeah, it was a really good match. Like all those guys did their thing. Yeah, as we can see, Braun Breaker had future plans, but I'm really happy that Dom got it. He absolutely deserved it. I think he's going to be a great heel champion. I feel like he is going to stay a heel. The crowd, he'll just be the heel that people like, similar to MJF. People will like him. He'll say something or do something dastardly. Um, it propels a story with Judgment Day. Fantastic match.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Next was Randy Orton versus mystery opponent. There were so many predictions in the ether for a potential Aleister Black, for a potential Rusev, but who we got was one that I don't think I saw any of these predictions on social platforms, and it was Mr. Joe Henry himself. What a great opportunity for him to come out. There was a loud crowd pop when his music hit. I know that I was surprised when he came out, and so many people waving their hands from side to side in the WrestleMania crowd. It was so awesome to see him there. It was a very quick match. It was a match that was meant for the actual moment and not a match for him to actually workhorse, because we know that he's a workhorse in the ring. We know that he can go. And he's the current TNA champion, so there was really no reason for him to win this match. This was Randy Orton's 20th WrestleMania. We figured that Randy Orton would be victorious. They had a really funny spot when Joe Henry did his signature, like, look at the crowd, to which Randy Orton interrupted with an RKO. So yeah, it was exciting to see. I think Randy Orton owed him twice in there, which is very on par for, Randy Orton's repertoire. But yeah, it was an exciting moment. Thank God Randy Orton got to be in WrestleMania. But yeah, I think that this was more of a moment than an actual match. And it was really exciting overall.
You're right on the point where it goes where actual moment instead of a match. If you're talking about the match, it's probably C or Z tier. It does not belong on WrestleMania. But for TNA circumstances, it's S tier because they got showcased on a platform that they would not usually be able to get on.
I 1000% agree with everything you just said. It was, those guys can work, but man, it put Joe Hendry and a TNA champion on the biggest stage in wrestling that you can get on. It was a fun spot. Randy Orton gave him props
Mhm.
after the match. Big on Joe Hendry. Big
Yeah.
moment for him. So it's solid
Mhm.
or solid to didn't belong. I'll say it's solid because it
Yeah.
did a lot. It did a lot more than the actual wrestling. So I'll give it a solid.
Agreed. Yeah, that just like that middle ground. And one of the things I also want to highlight is Triple H he's told Joe Hendry that this was going to be the easiest WrestleMania that he would ever have, thus showing that he is absolutely going to be, in the big leagues in the future. So very
Yeah.
excited for what's in store for him. The next match was Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. This outcome was, what we expected. We expected Logan Paul to get this W in WrestleMania. Um, there were a lot of hot spots. I mean, you can't have a bad match with AJ Styles. He is a veteran, and if you have a bad match with AJ Styles, it is your fault. A lot of people are kind of looking at this as his like kind of last go around. So I thought that it was a pretty solid match. Like I thought there were a lot of exciting moments. Now the I guess ending portion to it was definitely surprising. Originally it was Logan Paul as one of his lackeys coming in to give him the brass knuckles, and then he was then interrupted by Karrion Kross, who I wasn't expecting to see. I'm glad he got a moment in WrestleMania. He's just one of those superstars that definitely gets overlooked. He's super underrated. But yeah, so he then interrupted that moment happening and gave the brass knuckles to AJ Styles to use, to which AJ Styles didn't do it because he's noble and doesn't want to cheat, blah, blah, blah. And then Logan Paul beat him clean without any brass knuckles. And I think this is more so showing that they're really going to start to push Logan Paul to be in the conversations for, title contenders, to be in matches with a lot of, heavy hitting competition. But yeah, I thought the match was solid, a lot of hot spots, but nothing like extravagant to me.
Yeah, the match did what it needed to do. The ending, obviously, kind of big. Though it kind of felt like that ending kind of ruined it a little bit because they kind of went with full story development instead of actually trying to go full on match. Let's see how far they take this carrying cross AJ Styles thing. I guess we'll just have to keep tuning into Raw, see what happens.
Um, it's crazy because the person that carried this whole story or feud or whatever was Karrion Kross. He was the most interesting thing to me about this whole feud. Um, so here's a story. I remember going to a house show in Baltimore, and I was watching the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and they were going up against, I think it was the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. And I remember I was close and I was looking at Bret Hart's face. He had this look in his face like just another town. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. Like, let me just go through the motions, let me do these moves. To me, that was Logan Paul. He
Mm,
looked uninspired to me in this match. And I hate to say this about an AJ Styles match, but it didn't really belong
mm,
on Mania to me.
mm,
That match didn't seem inspired to me. No, of course, they can do some moves. Um, AJ Styles is AJ Styles. They had a nice spot of, The styles clash. They had, but
Right.
I mean, I didn't feel like that match could have been replaced.
Agreed. Totally
You
agreed.
replace that match and the New Day match, there is your TLC match to me. But yeah, that's how I felt about that.
Right. Then the next match was a tag match between Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Lyra Valkyria, and at the time, mystery partner for the women's tag matches. The mystery partner got revealed that it was, in fact, Becky Lynch, who, well, we weren't sure at the time when we did the last installment because the attack happened on night one of WrestleMania, so they really wanted the return of Becky Lynch to, kind of be a special moment, especially considering that this was before the main event. Um, yeah, it was exciting. I was happy to see Becky back. It was unfortunate for Bayley to be, kicked from a WrestleMania moment. But the payoff was that Becky Lynch was making her return. And there was an even bigger payoff on Raw, which we'll get into forthcoming. But yeah, I thought that it was a solid match. I mean, we know that Liv and Raquel can put on great tag matches. They are awesome partners, and they have great ring chemistry with a lot of those women on the roster. Liv and Becky have gone back and forth, and Lyra Valkyria has fought them before with Bayley. So I knew that this match was going to be very exciting. One of the biggest criticisms that I did hear was how Becky got the pin instead of Lyra in this match, but that alluded to what happened on Monday Night Raw. But that ended up with Becky and Lyra winning the tag titles and Lyra being two belts Lyra, which I was not necessarily surprised because of Becky's return. We expected her to end up being victorious, but Liv and Raquel kind of recently got those titles back, so I guess I wasn't expecting it at the moment. But again, Monday Night Raw kind of gave a little bit more clarity as to why what happened happened. But yeah, I think this match, it wasn't like crazy spectacular, but it was a lot of fun to watch for sure.
This match, it kind of felt like it got the second to last match due to the return of Becky Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that match went, what happened on Raw, it actually kind of fell out to me. At the very beginning of the match, I'm like, I knew what was going to happen. Like, I knew eventually that was going to happen, what happened on Raw, as we get to later.
Right, right. Yeah, it was kind of foreshadowed a little bit. Solid match. I mean, I love Liv Morgan. Like, I think she's very entertaining. Um, the facial expressions and she can just the improvement of that woman. Uh, Raquel's okay. I'm not gonna slander nobody. But yeah, solid match. Had the big surprise of Becky coming back. So yeah.
Before I get into this final match, I just want to kind of highlight one of the points that we made. So Mr. Glass Shatter himself came out before this match to read off the attendance number in WrestleMania. And that should have been a telltale sign for all of us about what was going to take place for the main event. But yeah, he came out on his four-wheeler, went around, bumped into the barricade. Maybe the fan got a lawsuit. I don't know. That was probably also a sign that the end was near. And then he read off the attendance and then showered himself in beer in the Stone Cold fashion and went on his merry way. He got a fat check for that, so hey, get the bag. And then this main event happens. John Cena has a intro. He kind of changed it. I mean, his song is the same, but he had it all blacked out, which that was very interesting. That was the first time we've seen that. No colors, no crazy John Cena, animation. It was just black. He walks to the ring, normal. Cody Rhodes comes out with a Iron Man mask kind of helmet thing that he's got on. Some really interesting apparatus. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is very cool. A lot of people were paying close attention to Cody Rhodes' mannerisms to see, hey, is this going to give any indication for what's going to happen? He goes over to his family, hugs his mom, hugs his wife, hugs his daughter, lets his daughter wave to the crowd. A lot of build up to the match. Now, the way this match was, John Cena is old. John Cena hasn't been in the ring for, quite some time. So I really wasn't expecting any crazy, oh, John Cena's jumping off the top rope. John Cena did a, like, no. We weren't expecting any crazy Cirque du Soleil stuff from John Cena's prime. So, it started off as, your extra back and forth kind of match. They had a lot of false finishes, a lot of very exciting moments that was really getting the adrenaline up. It was really, getting to be like really excited. And then the ref bump happens, and this was where we were all glued to the screen. Everybody in that bar was ready. Here we go. Here it goes. Following that ref bump, we hear Fiend by Travis Scott playing. He makes his way down to the ring holding that fake hardcore belt. And he takes what feels like 15 minutes to get to that ring. He goes up, he's taunting Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is like, hey, I remember that you slapped me, blah, 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 blah. He comes in the ring, tries to hit Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes blocks it, puts him in position for the crossroads. Crossroads Travis Scott, who can't even roll out the ring correctly. After that happens, which, let me just say that the ref can see this happening, but okay, that's besides the point. WWE logic, we can't apply real logic here. Cody Rhodes is met with an opportunity to hit John Cena with the title belt. John Cena is begging and pleading, please don't do this. Cody Rhodes is in a pickle. He's between a rock and a hard place. I don't know what to do. He doesn't do it. John Cena goes for the low blow. John Cena gets that title, hits him across the head. We see that there's going to be a pin, and all of us in our head are saying, Cody, kick out. Cody, kick out. It wasn't the end. I didn't think it was the end. The ref goes for the pin, and the ref counts to 3. And that is the conclusion of the main event of WrestleMania 41, Night 2. The entire bar was silent for a second and couldn't believe what just went on in front of us. One of the most anticipated matches since John Cena was confirmed the winner for Elimination Chamber. One of the most anticipated matches since John Cena made the most historic heel turn. One of the most anticipated matches of my life, seeing my GOAT fight for a potential 17th title, to which he won, but I felt weird about him winning. I wasn't getting up and cheering like I thought I was going to, because I was going to cheer regardless. John Cena's my GOAT. But that ending left a bad taste in all of our mouths, to say the least. I am off my soapbox. I had to take a long time for that one, but I will leave the floor to you guys for what you thought about that match.
Obviously, the way it ended, no one kind of expected that. But when the ref got knocked out and Travis Scott, his music started playing, I was kind of hopeful because the way The Rock came out in Elimination Chamber, I'm like, he's just doing his remix entrance. He's going to come out with Travis Scott. No, Travis Scott just walks down the ring himself, gets himself involved, and basically writes the ending of WrestleMania. We look back at this in like 10 to 15 years. Hopefully we don't remember Travis Scott being there. It's just John Cena won 17. He's the record holder. But eventually, with how that ended, Cody's going to become heel. Eventually, he's got to be heel, and he's going to use that as motivation. And he's going to be like the most tough heel to take down.
John Cena currently has more title wins than anyone in the history of pro wrestling. WWE, WCW, all the major promotions. John Cena is the man. It is forever linked to a 120-pound rapper that should not have been involved in that storyline at all. He brought it down. I won't talk about Dwayne because I'm sure you guys have your thoughts on Dwayne. When that match happened, when 1, 2, 3 happened, I immediately looked at Carissa. She's a John Cena mark. We've gone over this quite a bit. She was stone, silent, didn't move, probably couldn't believe what she saw. I was still waiting for something to happen. Nothing happened. That match is crazy how WrestleMania ended with a complete dud. I don't recall that happening in a long time. The dud, it was over. It was just ended. Like I won't go on because we got a lot. We still got stuff to go. I see that the position of this match is below dumpster fire. Never do that again. You could probably keep it there because it's even below that. That match, all right, should it have happened? Of course it should have happened because of the progression of the storyline. I don't understand how they were in the back cooking up the finish for this match, and someone said, yes, that's what's going to pop the fans. That is what we need to progress this story. Travis Scott taking 15 minutes to get to the ring with his fake title. What was the point of that? He didn't even hit him with the title. He just walked out with it. I don't want to go into a rant with this. Triple Z dumpster fire. What are they doing? Was it the right call to make? I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it was the right call to make. I mean, I talked about the story that I wanted with John Cena, but maybe he's just gonna go out as a heel. He hates the fans now. All of you John Cena fans are hypocrites. But yeah, all right, so that's our tier list. So next we want to go into how we felt about this WrestleMania, and we want to talk about our topics of discussion. Braden, I'll let you start. What is your feeling coming out of Mania, and what do you want to talk about?
Cody style, obviously. Okay, but Mania was good. Obviously, the way it ended was kind of a dud. But the Raw after WrestleMania kind of felt like we're getting ready for the next WrestleMania season. We're building stuff up to main event SummerSlam, maybe even War Games that got announced for Petco Park in uh, San Diego. But what I want to talk about is obviously the ending of the show. Insane. I did not see that coming. Uh, with Braun Breaker aligning himself with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins. Because at first, when Breaker entered that ring and he speared Roman Reigns, I'm like, they're just doing this to have Breaker fight Reigns before Reigns fights Rollins because they're going to Punk and Rollins go one off first. But then Rollins puts his arm around Braun Breaker, and we all know what's actually happening. They had a plan. So, what I'm kind of confused. Do you think they have a third member? I think they will.
I think 3 gives it balance. So, yeah, it makes sense. What if that third member is Becky Lynch? How do we feel about that? She's a Paul Heyman girl. Her
Because the
husband is
one thing
here.
I was talking about earlier is like people like Ethan Page, Trick Williams, they might fit on this here. Because Seth
Oh my
Rollins kind of seems
God,
like the
Trick
new guy.
Williams. Oh my God. If they put Trick Williams on that, but I won't. The stage is yours.
Like they could make this like kind of like the bloodline, but not the bloodline, where you got the head guy, Seth Rollins going after the world title, and Breaker and Trick Williams are just doing all his dirty work, have the tag titles, destroying through everybody. That would be amazing. Obviously, eventually we're probably going to get Roman Reigns and CM Punk versus Breaker and Rollins, as we should. But with how that ended, that was insane to me.
Yeah. How about you, Riss? What do you think? What
Yeah,
was your
no.
feeling of WrestleMania and your topic of discussion?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling was definitely shocked. Um, just a loss of words for the ending because you remember the last thing they do. You remember the last thing they do regardless of what came before that. So I constantly am just reminding myself about how awesome a lot of the other matches on the card were to kind of get this terrible taste out of my mouth. But I will let them cook. I will see, where they go with this decision. One of the things I am semi concerned about is, what the future looks like for Cody Rhodes. I think there's a lot of validity in the point made about him turning heel because him being a good guy got him to lose the title. But one of the points that I need to bring up is how WWE loves to question our intelligence, but you can't do it for this particular thing. Cody Rhodes just couldn't bring himself to cheat against John Cena. He just couldn't do it. But at one of the PLEs, I don't remember which one it was. I think it was a Saturday Night Main Event. He was against Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens brought a chair in the ring. Kevin Owens didn't use it. Kevin Owens thought he was above it. The chair was on the floor, and he still crossroads Kevin Owens onto the chair. He kicked it out of the ring like it was nothing. The ref came back in. There was two ref bumps in that match, by the way. And we thought, oh yeah, there's going to be cheating involved. Shocker! It was Cody Rhodes that did it, and we have that hasn't been brought up since. It's been brushed under the rug. I understand that we as wrestling fans have the memory of Goldfish. I get it, but for this thing in particular, you cannot convince me. Oh, he just couldn't bring himself to hit John Cena. John Cena embarrassed you in front of everybody at a major event. He turned heel on you. Your hero John Cena turned heel on you. Travis Scott slapped you in the face. You were made a joke, Cody Rhodes, and you couldn't bring yourself to hit him, but you could use the chair on Kevin Owens and get a leg up and win that way. Yeah, whatever. Now, on the point of what you guys were talking about Seth Rollins and the acquisition of Paul Heyman, I'm very excited to see where that goes. I really hope that, maybe Becky Lynch is a part of this. That would be really cool. But yeah, I think there's going to be a third person. I don't know who. But yeah, a third person definitely balances it out. So I'm very excited to see where it goes because I think that this is going to be a super group. And it just shows how much faith they have in Braun Breaker. Because I really think he's going to be a superstar in the future, definitely championship contender. But the topic that I had was it's kind of getting a little bit into the criticism of the business. So hopefully this doesn't ruffle too many feathers. But the way that I have it is if WWE stops listening to fan critics, they become AEW. And I will elaborate on this. There's a lot of people that give criticisms to WWE. A lot of them are in bad faith, and some of them are completely valid. Following this WrestleMania 41, there's a lot of criticism that was given to the wrestlers individually, the matches, and then just WWE in general. And I'm sure if you're in the position of leadership and creative, a lot of it hurts. A lot of it takes a dig at you. But you have to listen to the consumers. You as the producer are already biased to your own product. You do not have an impartial opinion anymore as the producer. You have to listen to the consumers in order to better the product. The criticism that was given to the potential main event of WrestleMania 40, which was going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns, the only reason why it wasn't was because of the criticism. Because of the Cody Crybabies. And I mean, look where that got one of the best main events of WrestleMania in history. You have to listen to the criticism. When I heard Triple H say that, hey, I don't appreciate the criticism, just be a fan, just accept it. I can understand how you don't like the people that will criticize in bad faith, that will criticize your superstars who you work super hard for something that you've put a lot of yourself into. I respect that. But when it comes to the general good faith criticisms, you have to listen to the critics. We're the consumers. We're the ones that want to see the product, so we're going to have an opinion on the product. And Lord, do we have a lot of opinions on what was showed to us last night for the main event. But yeah, that was my main thing. You see the difference between WWE and AEW. The biggest thing is the creative. It's not the wrestler's ability because AEW has some awesome superstars. They have some awesome wrestlers. But some of the creative decisions kind of make them not stand out. We don't want that to happen in WWE, so you have to listen to the criticism.
I would argue that AEW's issue is maybe trying to appease the fans too much, but
service.
It's about balance and organization with AEW, I believe. and you have an owner that is a mark, that is a matchmaker and not really a booker of storylines. The wrestlers kind of do that with them. I think WWE books to the corporate needs a lot. They try to do, they're definitely storytellers there, but I think they go corporate. But I think you can see how insecure people like Triple H might be, or some people that are involved in that creative process. They don't want to hear criticism. They just want they always want clapping like seals. They just want us like happy. But yeah, I mean that's definitely a good topic. It's interesting to see how it goes going forward. How I felt about WrestleMania. It was a good WrestleMania. Some great moments in that WrestleMania, and like Braden said, you remember what happened last. It's a shame it brought down what was probably a good WrestleMania. It just brought it down. But it looked like Damage Control, air quotes, Monday Night Raw. Usually the Monday Night Raw after Mania is the exciting one. So they went with chaos and women. They used the women, which is like the highlight of NXT, and brought them on a show to try to let's look over here. Don't look over here. Look over here. Cody wasn't even on the show. So they had their shocking moments, but I think it's about Damage Control because they have to feel. It boggles my mind that they looked at that ending and said, "We're going with that. We like that. That's what we want." No, there's no way. There's no way, and especially with this backlash. And then you had Dwayne on Pat McAfee show. That's a whole different topic for another day. But yeah, that's where I am. I think it was a good WrestleMania. It was good being down there. In Las Vegas, experiencing like WrestleCon we did. And just the atmosphere of WrestleMania. It's like I said, the people showed out. You're just questioning some of the decisions, and especially that ending. But I like this WrestleMania more so than some other ones. You can't compare it to last year's because that had the Avengers on your left moment. Oh, it had maybe one of the greatest endings of all time. So that's where we are. This was a very long episode of DDT. Comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. Tell me how you feel. This WrestleMania definitely got some feels, and that's what's important. You feel something, whether it's pissed off, angry, happy, sad. Wrestling is making you feel, and that's what we all want. But with that, DDT is out.
You just can't get up from that.